Hello everyone, welcome to Elite Weather Forecasting. I'm your meteorologist, Mr. G, here with you on your Saturday morning. Thank you for joining me today as we cover the weekend weather forecast and get you ready for the week ahead as we talk about what we're going to be seeing out there. And we do have a couple of things of interest to talk about. One is going to be Tropical Storm Ophelia that's affecting the East Coast right now with heavy rain and high winds. And then we have our atmospheric river setting up across the Northwest. Our city of the day is Seattle, Washington. So if you're out in the Pacific Northwest, you're going to be dealing with a lot of rain this weekend, a lot of wet weather, typical September weather across the Pacific Northwest today as we are officially in the fall season now. We are just into the first day of fall, the first full day of fall as we're dealing with the clouds and wet weather as we have that Pacific moisture stream extended out to Hawaii that's going to be bringing that rainfall from the Pacific Northwest through British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, California, and we're going to also start to see snow through the Cascade Mountain Range, parts of the Sierra Nevada, as well as the Northern Rockies and the Wasatch Range in Utah, where we can see some of these areas pick up their first snowfall of the season. So that is a bit of news for you guys. So let's talk about the weather forecast for the rest of the 48, as well as take a deeper dive into the impacts of Tropical Storm Ophelia. Okay, now as we talk about the rest of the lower 48 and take a look at Ophelia, let's start off with our satellite photo right now. And this is where we're currently seeing out there across the country as we have a storm system moving across the upper Midwest and the high plains. So the Dakotas down into Nebraska, Montana, and Wyoming, we're going to be seeing some severe weather this afternoon and evening, and we're going to take a deeper look into that as later on in this weather forecast video. But we are seeing a upper level storm system moving across the Midwest, as well as our stormy weather into the Pacific Northwest. But the star of the day today is Tropical Storm Ophelia that's down here that just came onshore in North Carolina, direct hit onto Charlotte. So we're seeing heavy rain and winds up to 50 to 60 miles per hour. And there's been a lot of flooding as well. I've seen video already of some of the flooding across the Carolinas and into parts of Maryland. So we're seeing a lot of flooding, heavy rain, and some gusty winds out there. And we do have a storm surge because the pattern is coming onshore. So there is about a 6-foot storm surge also. So we're seeing a lot of beach erosion and coastal flooding through parts of North and South Carolina, as well as the inner harbor of Maryland and the Chesapeake Bay. We're seeing some impacts from Tropical Storm Ophelia with some of that heavy rainfall and those strong gusty winds out there. There is occasionally hurricane force gusts that will reach over 74 miles per hour, but because we don't have sustained winds in that category, this is just a tropical storm. This is kind of a late bloomer. It just bloomed into a tropical storm just before hitting landfall, actually. This was just came into the picture just a couple of days ago, and it strengthened to a tropical storm status just 12 hours before making landfall. So fortunately, it didn't have that capacity and time to further strengthen into a tropical storm, a deeper storm, or hurricane. So, but you're going to get a lot of rain and some gusty winds, and there will be some tornadoes possible along the periphery here of our storm system. So some smaller, weaker tornadoes are always possible with tropical systems. And we have let's take a look at the infrared. And the infrared shows those cloud temperatures. So we're seeing cold cloud tops. So that indicates instability and severe and thunderstorms. So we're seeing a lot of thunderstorms with around our tropical storm. We're seeing a lot of thunderstorms down here over the Caribbean, near the Bahamas, just off the coast of the east coast of Florida. So here over Hispaniola, we are seeing those thunderstorms from the tropical wave down there. That could be another potential tropical development next week. So we're going to keep an eye on this fella as well. But we're seeing a lot of heavy rain down over Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico. So a lot of wet weather down that way. And then we have a frontal boundary here across the southwest that's going to help to cool things down. Might spread some showers across the four corners. But the other big story is the atmospheric river out here across the Pacific Northwest. So that heavy rain is going to be spreading across Seattle and Portland and San Francisco as well. It's going to pick up some rain later on this weekend and into next week as this kind of makes its way further onshore. So we're going to see the atmospheric river. We're going to see severe weather across the Midwest today that could spark some tornadoes across the plain states. Here is a current look at the radar right now across the country. And we're going to start off and we're going to talk first about our tropical storm. Ophelia is right there over North Carolina. There it is. You can see basically the eye of the storm right there. And there's a lot of rain associated with Ophelia. It kind of has you can see that outflow right here that's headed off towards the northeast. So that's spreading some rain showers and wind. So we're seeing those thunderstorms extending up to Massachusetts. So as far away as Boston, we're seeing some of those showers affect the Northeast and New England. And we're going to be seeing that severe weather up here across the upper Midwest. We have tornadoes possible across Nebraska, North and South Dakota from this severe weather today. And there is our cold front and our atmospheric river across the Pacific Northwest. So a lot of wet weather out there. A lot of interesting weather right now. It's not a particularly quiet time for this weather forecast. Couple of things to talk about. And it's still hot down across the central and southern plains. Still hot in Texas. Not triple digit heat, but we're still seeing those 90s across the state of Texas and that humidity as well. So some of those heat indexes are still making it feel like it's 100 degrees. But we're going to be seeing that hot weather, especially down south of San Angelo and Brownsville, Laredo, Texas, is really where it's going to be the hottest. And it's going to be rather uncomfortable with those humidities and temperatures. But across the rest of the country, our nice temperatures across the Great Lakes in the upper Midwest, temperatures in the 70s. We're seeing those 50s and even we're seeing some upper 50s across parts of the Northeast. So Vermont, New Hampshire, parts of Maine, we're seeing those temperatures in the 50s. So it's starting to feel like fall out there temperature-wise across the Northeast and New England and in the Pacific Northwest. We're seeing very cool weather. Some of this is actually feeling wintry, so we're going to be seeing it cold enough for snow. So we will be seeing snow across the northern Rockies. And look at the Cascades with temperatures in the 30s and 40s. So it's going to be starting to feel kind of cold out there. So a lot of you folks in the West going to see your first snowfall. Some folks have already seen snow across parts of Montana and Colorado, so we've already picked up some snow, and I think Utah as well. Some folks have already seen some snow. Well, you're going to see some more snow this weekend and early next week as that atmospheric river moves closer onshore and starts to affect a greater portion of the western U.S. All right, so here is Tropical Storm Ophelia. This was the last update at 6:15 in the morning, Eastern Daylight Time. And today, and here it is near East Emberfield Isle, North Carolina, as the last update. And there is our tropical storm right now. Very nicely formed tropical storm. You see a lot of heavy rain associated with our tropical storm. Still to the east of Raleigh, where it already made landfall this morning. So basically at 6:15 in the morning, it made landfall. So we're going to see that heavy rain through Cape Hatteras right here. And here is Maryland and parts of Virginia. So we're seeing those rain showers and thunderstorms associated with our tropical system. Now let's take a look at the wind. So we're going to be seeing a lot of wind associated with this tropical storm, and we're seeing those winds right now in the 20 mile per hour range, pretty much tropical storm. But look at this 33, and we're getting some gusts in the 40s. So we are seeing higher gusts, even though the sustained winds are an average about 20 miles per hour, but we're seeing higher gusts up to 40 and 50 miles per hour. We're going to see that diminish over time as our storm moves further on land, but it will eventually, it is starting to track toward the northeast, and it's going to eventually move back out to sea when it gets to the a little bit further toward the northeast there near New Jersey and Delaware. It's going to move back out over to sea, but I don't anticipate further development and re-strengthening when it moves back out over the open water. It's going to be a little bit far to the north. See here, Atlantic City, northeast New Jersey. It's going to kind of ride along the coastline there. So we're going to see we won't see further redevelopment. A lot of storms redevelop once they move back out over the open water. But this is going to stay pretty close to the landmass. So it's going to struggle with that, with being able to redevelop or re-strengthen. So we're going to be seeing those 50 miles per hour winds right now. This afternoon, we're going to see it drop to 40 miles per hour early tomorrow as the storm makes its way toward the northeast. And then by Monday, we're going to see it down to 30 miles an hour, which will bring it below tropical storm. It will be tropical depression speeds there. But right now, we have it pegged on average at 65 miles per hour sustained winds at the center of circulation. This is the wind speeds measured and the eye wall around the eye of the tropical storm. So those winds closest to the eye are the winds that we determine as the strongest winds. It is 65 miles per hour, and it's moving north at 13 miles per hour. So pretty slow clip right now, but it will increase in speed as it makes that turn toward the northeast. Here is a look at our tropical storm warnings and watches in place right now. We do have tropical storm warnings in place all the way from Wilmington all the way up to Boston, Massachusetts. All the way up to New Jersey and Massachusetts. We do have a tropical storm warnings in place along most of the entire mid-Atlantic seaboard, the eastern seaboard, the entire eastern seaboard. We are looking at tropical storm warning correction. Let me correct myself here. From Delaware all the way down to south to the border of North Carolina and South Carolina, from Wilmington, North Carolina, up to Salisbury, that is Delaware, Salisbury, Connecticut is where we're seeing that truck. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm sorry. I can't see. I'm trying to see. So here we are. Here's Delaware right there. And there is Maryland. So this is Maryland. And we're seeing that tropical storm warnings up to Maryland, down to Wilmington, North Carolina. So that is a pretty large area under the tropical storm warnings right now as our storm makes its way to the northeast. All right, so we are talking about storm surge right now, and we're going to be looking at up to a 6-foot storm surge. So right here around Cape Hatteras, we're going to be seeing up to 6 feet storm surge possible. And on average, we're looking at 2 to 4 feet, but some folks can't see a storm surge as much as 6 feet. Here we are as we're talking about our wind forecast. Again, we're looking at those winds in that from that 20 to 30 miles an hour range on average. Some folks can see 40 mile an hour winds, but if you're around the eye, the center of circulation, those winds can be up to 65 miles per hour. But again, it's going to be a very small, tight area around the eye wall where we're going to see those 65 mile an hour winds. But for the most part, We're looking at winds of about 20 to 30 miles an hour on average here, associated with our tropical storm Ophelia. Here are some of our rainfall estimates that we're expecting through the day on Sunday, and we're going to be looking at 1 to 2, maybe up to 3 inches of rain. And now let's talk about what's going on the West Coast. So through the late weekend, we have our atmospheric river coming up from the central Pacific and into the Pacific Northwest, and we're going to see that moisture plume extend into British Columbia initially because of this area of low pressure. It's going to slide to the east southeast into Washington, so that moisture is going to spread eastward into the Pacific Northwest, and we're going to start to see that moisture plume affect the West Coast. And this is a very deep moisture plume, so a lot of rain is going to fall this weekend across the Northwest and the Western United States. So as we look at Saturday at noon, so it's still 8 o'clock in the morning, so in about 4 hours from now across the Pacific Northwest, we're going to be seeing that rain across Washington, Seattle. Portland, you're going to remain dry for the most part today, but we will start to see those showers affect Seattle, Washington, and Victoria, Canada. So if you're in the Pacific Northwest and in Vancouver, we're going to start to see that rain start to spread. And then tomorrow at 10 a.m., that rain showers now will overtake Portland. So Seattle and Portland, Medford, we're going to start to see that rain move into your area. And then Monday at noon, so midday, noon starts to affect Northern California now, that cold front, and then it's going to be close to San Francisco. We're going to start to see that rain move into San Francisco, but continue wet weather, Seattle and Portland and Vancouver. So we're going to still see that rain. That low pressure is going to remain offshore for now, but that cold front is slowly spreading to the east. So it's going to take that plume of moisture and spread it to the east into the Cascade Mountain Range. Now, as that moisture interacts with that mountain range, we're going to see enhanced rainfall amounts along the west-facing ranges of the Cascade. So some areas along the mountains could pick up a little bit higher rainfall amounts than you would, say, if you are along the coastal sections. If you're in Seattle or anything like that, or Portland, you may see a little bit lower rainfall totals. Now, as we move into Tuesday, still it's going to keep raining. We're going to see that rain through it's going to dry out now in San Francisco, but you're still going to stay wet in Oregon and Washington, so Seattle down to Medford. Going to continue to see that heavy rain associated with our atmospheric river. And then that rain is going to continue into Wednesday, midday. Again, more heavy rain continuing down from Seattle down to Medford. But you're going to be dry across California for the most part as we move on through this time. Here is our rainfall forecast through the day on Wednesday. So I'm going to stand over here so you can see how we're going to be seeing rain from 1 to 3 inches along the coast. So this is going to be an inch or less here in the light green. The darker green is 1 to 2 inches. The dark green is 1 to 3 inches. It's going to be up to 3 inches. The yellows are 3 inches plus. So if you see a yellow and red, that's 3, maybe 4 inches. And then we have some snow to talk about. So if you see light blues, that's going to be snow across the higher elevations and in the mountains. And we're going to see some snow through parts of the Cascades. Now, this is going to be about 7,000 feet elevation where we're going to see that snow associated with our moisture plume coming off of the Pacific. And then here is our rainfall totals for Wednesday through Wednesday. We're going to pick up an inch of rain in parts of Northern California. Then maybe a half inch over in Medford. Medford tends to be a little bit drier area, but Portland, 1 to 2 inches of rain. 1 to 2 inches of rain for Seattle. But check out Forks. Forks is going to pick up 2 to 3 inches. Okay, movie trivia. Movie trivia. Anybody seen what movie is Forks featured in? If you in my comment section on TikTok and YouTube, what movie franchise is Forks featured in? Trust me. Forks. Think about it. What movie franchise is, I'm going to give you a little hint. It has to deal with the supernatural. So what movie is focused in Fort Washington, where they're going to pick up 2 to 3 inches of rain by the time we get to Tuesday and by Wednesday. So up here in ski country in Montana, 1 to 2 inches of rain. But check out Teton Village, 1 to 3 inches of snow in 2 parts of Idaho. So Teton Village, Idaho, 1 to 3 inches of snow. So yeah, finally some winter weather across the western United States and in the Rockies. I don't mind it snowing there. You can keep it there. That's where it should be. But it shouldn't be here. I don't want it here. I don't like it here. All right, so we got to talk about thunder boomers. So thunder boomers are going to be affecting the Midwest today and tomorrow. So we're going to see area of low pressure across the northern plains shift to the east, and that's going to bring some thunderstorms across the north and gusty winds down across the south. So if you're in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, we're going to be seeing strong winds coming from the west, southwest with gusts up to 40 miles per hour. So going to be kind of a hard day to drive on I-40, I-70 and stuff like that. I-20, I-30 is going to be kind of rough. We're going to be a white knuckle. We got to hold on to the wheel if you're driving a semi or a motorhome or anything like that. Okay, so a lot of moisture is going to be coming up from the south here and off the Gulf of Mexico through the entire central United States, the central plains. We're going to be seeing those showers and thunderstorms and severe weather. We're going to see hail, gusty winds up to 75 miles an hour. We're going to also see some tornadoes possible across the high plains. So Nebraska, North, South Dakota, and maybe even Minnesota later on, we can see some potential for tornadic activity. So again, some severe weather. Some of these storms are going to be quite nasty across the Midwest. It's going to be some rough weather across the plains tonight, today, and tomorrow. So that severe weather is going to shift a little bit further to the south for your Sunday. So let's take a quick look at that. This is the severe weather threat today. We're going to be seeing those severe thunderstorms, especially down in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Tulsa to Coffeyville, Kansas, maybe parts of western Missouri. So if you're in these regions here, really be on the lookout for those severe weather. Those tornadoes is going to come and hit you upside the head if you're not paying attention. And we can see that potential, that likelihood for severe weather all the way up into Sioux Falls and into Minnesota today. We can see the potential for severe weather across the Twin Cities. Now, the Twin Cities, I think damaging winds and heavy rain is going to be the primary threat. I don't anticipate twisters in the Twin Cities. Oops, I think I accidentally hit the clicker. Okay, I don't anticipate Twin Cities to see twisters, but with some damaging winds, heavy rain is going to be possible. Des Moines, you can see a tornado today. Heavy rain, damaging winds, isolated tornado possible, and some hail is also going to be possible today. So a lot of severe weather across the central to northern plains today. Tomorrow, that severe weather shifts down to the south. The Big D, Dallas, Austin, Shreveport. You guys going to see the storm system bring some severe weather in your area tomorrow, where you can see damaging winds, some hail, and an isolated tornado is also possible down across the state of Texas, where we can see a pretty bumpy afternoon out there tomorrow. So that is your weather forecast for this weekend. My name is Mr. G. I'm sorry I can't be there every day because Mr. G, I have a lot of homework to do. A lot of homework and things like that. I'm getting close to the end, so getting through it. So it's really packing on the workload right now. So more difficult stuff, a lot of calculus and differential equations, and a lot of deep thinking to do for these for this degree here. So thank you for joining me today. Leave a like, comment, share your concerns or questions about the weather, anything you say I'm ugly or whatever it is you need to say. I'm here for you. I'll see you guys tomorrow evening with another video to get you started and take a look at your upcoming work week, let you know what to expect as you go back to work Monday and you go back to school. Now, it's Yom Kippur on Monday, so some folks may not have to work if you are in a enlightened area that observes Yom Kippur and give people the day off for that. Some places do that. They do that here in the Twin Cities. Some folks do have Yom Kippur off. So have a good day if you are Jewish and you are celebrating Yom Kippur. So again, I don't know what the greetings are. I have a friend that knows all the greetings. He's from Israel, so he knows all the stuff. So, but anyway, have a good weekend, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.